All right, guys, we've got Coach Jones here. It's noon, so we'll go ahead and just open it up for questions for him. We don't need an opening statement.
Hey, good morning, Coach Jones. Thanks for your time. Just how has camp started, and what have you guys gotten accomplished so far?
Yeah, good to see you, Les. So camp's been good so far. We've had 4 practices so far. We've got most of our base defense in through 4 practices. We've had really good energy. There's been really good excitement around the practices. The level of energy has been really high. And practice has been good so far. Guys are playing fast and looks like they're enjoying themselves out there on the field.
Obviously, as part of your group, Luke Masterson was moved over from safety to linebacker. Just kind of in depth, what does that move do for your group, and how has he adjusted to that through four practices?
Yeah, so the first thing it did was it brought a leader into the group. He's one of our captains, and his work ethic and his intangible qualities off the field speak for themselves, and those have a tremendous impact on not only himself but also the rest of the group in general, right? From a physical standpoint, we're getting a guy that's really athletic, has natural instincts in the box, and is a really good football player that's kind of influx into linebacking core. And we're excited about him. He's doing a really nice job through the first 4 practices.
Greg, would you talk a little bit, if you would, about the depth you have right now?
Yeah. So we have, we got, just going through the list, you got Ryan Smender, who's probably your most a tenured member of the linebacking core, most experienced guy that's played the linebacker the longest and played the most game experience. You got Luke Masterson, who just moved in there. You got Chaz Jones, who I'm really excited about, has had a really good first 4 practices. This is really his first full cycle through it in terms of being able to go through the off-season training regimen where he wasn't coming off of a nagging injury. So he looks really, really good through 4 spring practices so far. Some other guys that we're looking to get, to the point where we feel like they're really ready to go play meaningful reps in games would be Jalen Hudson, who's really coming along really well through 4 practices. You got DJ Taylor, who's another guy who, early in his career played a lot and hasn't gone his way as of late, but he's really working hard and doing the right things. And then you got some other guys. You got Zach Ranson, and then you got our 2 new incoming guys as well. One guy will get here in the summer, and the other guy is a mid-year enrollee, Josh Sasanya, who is a converted safety to linebacker.
In a perfect world, how many guys would you like to have as your core that could get significant minutes? Yeah, Coach
always talks about creating depth and creating layered depth. So you'd like to have our number 6. You'd love to have 6 guys that you feel really confident about that can go in games and execute the game plan. Now, obviously, some of that is personnel based, right? Depends on the teams and what you're seeing, right? And what packages we have on defense. But the number 6, that's what we're striving for right now.
What do you feel comfortable with right now?
Yeah, comfortable right now. I would say anywhere between 4 or 5. We would certainly, if we played a game tomorrow, we would rotate 4 guys in for sure, within the rotation, just because, however many snaps you play, you got to keep guys fresh so they can execute down in the 4th quarter.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I noticed you didn't mention Chase Monroe. Is he out right now?
Yeah. Currently he has an injury. He hasn't just been practicing the first 4 practices.
Do you have a timetable on when you might get him back?
I do not know.
Going off Jalen Hudson a little bit more, he's a guy that came in with a ton of size.
Yes.
And he's really I think he's only been in there on goal line packages. So what's been his step forward in the last, 3 or 4 practices?
Yeah, sure. So Jalen's a guy out of high school. So obviously he's probably the most physically imposing linebacker we have in terms of his stature, right? I mean, he's 6'3" and change. He's got really long wingspan. He can run straight line. But this is a guy that played safety as a sophomore into a little bit of outside linebacker. And then, as a senior was mostly like an outside linebacker, if you will, hybrid DN type position. And then now he's a true box linebacker, right? So there's obviously some steps he has to take in terms of processing, in terms of key diagnosing. And then again, he is so long. So we've tried to, obviously continue to work on his footwork and his movement skills so he can change direction and be explosive and do all those things at a high level. But I would say so far through 4 practices, he's playing faster. He's playing more confident. He has, it's his 3rd year in the program. So he's starting to hear a lot of the same things over and over again. He's gone through different phases. And usually, guys that come in and don't play right away, they play on special teams, which is what he did last year. He was on 3 to 4 units almost the entire year and did an unbelievable job on special teams. We played him in packages on goal line. And, now it's his time to really take that next step forward to kind of push, to get on the field on defense on 1st and 2nd down.
How much do you have to stress to a guy like that needs to basically learn a lot of the position to be patient, and it's going to come? And, even though you have the size element, you need to spend a year or 2 working on film and working on special teams.
Yeah, I think that's generational. I think it's like instant gratification. That's what everybody wants in this generation. Like everything's now, Twitter this, Twitter that. Everything's right in your face. You get everything you want right away. That's college football in a nutshell. Like you got to be able to put in the work, go through the process. And with him, it's just been a process of, learning the materials and going through it and feeling comfortable and then playing fast and then reacting. There's so many things that go into it that it is truly a process. And, it's one of the biggest things from a defensive standpoint is you got to conceptualize things, right? You got to be able to conceptualize concepts and then play fast. You can't memorize things. So we're stressing that quite a lot. And, he's really picked it up through 4 spring practices really well. So I'm really happy with his progress for sure right now.
Coach Clausen spoke a couple of times now about like the amount of cross training that's taking place on the defensive side of the ball. How does that kind of manifest itself with the linebacker position? Do you have some linebackers that are learning other positions? Do you have some other guys from other position groups learning some linebacker? What's going on in terms of that?
Yeah, you got guys that are cross training in different positions or in different meetings, right? You can do like a run install meeting, right, with different guys in it, so they're hearing different things. You got guys repping at different positions. Specifically in the linebacker room, we've been so Mike Buck Rover oriented for the last few years. We're still Mike Buck Rover from a deployment standpoint, right? But I went into the first day in winter meetings and said, hey, nobody has a position. You know what I mean? So, if you look at our rotations, if you were at practice, you would notice all of my guys are playing different positions at different times within the segment, right? So there's this, there's this conceptual understanding of the defense that they're learning, and they're learning all the different pieces and all the different elements all at once, and which is forcing them to not specifically know one job, right? So that way, when you have injuries, and you have different rotations and different packages, right? You're playing your best players on the field all the time, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. And so far through 4 spring practices, the guys are absorbing all of it. They're doing a nice job, and they're really starting to play a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressive. And we're certainly attacking more than we are reacting, which is good to see.
How much have you enjoyed having the extra numbers, just having like a big spring where you have a full roster and you're not having to kind of bunch things together like a lot of schools do in the spring with the extra scholarship guys this year?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's awesome for any room that's trying to develop, right? Where you don't have 5 established guys at the position, right? So, usually in spring you get 1s and 2s, and then your 3s are kind of thrown in there with the 2s, and you're splitting up reps, and just guys aren't getting enough, right? There's not enough reps to go around because you can't from a health standpoint, right? But now because of that, we're able to practice 1s, 2s, 3s, so our guys can rotate in. We're getting more reps. There's more availability. So those guys that need reps and need to develop are being put in those situations routinely. And it also creates an energy to practice, right? I mean, you got 100+ guys running around there, excited, competing. There's more juice, there's more energy around practice. I mean, it's all good, man. If we could do this all the time, I'd love to do it, but obviously that's not always the case.
What are you seeing so far, both before spring camp and now during these first few practices from your early enrollee freshman, Sosanya?
Yeah. So Josh is a guy that from the jump is going to be a developmental guy for us, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy that's already put on 30 pounds in a calendar year, right? So anytime you have that big a jump, the first thing you got to get used to is, hey, man, I'm carrying a lot more on my back than I used to, right? So you got to get your conditioning level and your capacity up. And he's doing a great job at that. He's working at that. And then, the next thing is he played safety, right? So, you're getting a plus athlete, but you're moving him close to the ball. So what happens when you move close to the ball, right? Things happen a lot faster, right? You're a lot closer to the action. So it's just learning that process and learning the position, the ins and outs of the position, what to look at, how to move, where your alignment is, what's your first step. And then obviously the next part is your instincts, right? You got to take over and go make the play, right? So he's in that process right now, and he's 4 practices in. So it's been good so far.
Craig, would you characterize Ryan Smender's leadership qualities?
Yeah, I think Ryan's a guy that's I would consider him a guy that's really obsessed with getting better at football. He isn't the most vocal player in a sense that he's not going to pull the team in and have this, impassionate speech and get everyone to charge the hill. But, he does an unbelievable job of going about the game of football from like a professional standpoint, right? Like, I mean, he takes care of his body. He looks really good right now. He's developed his body. He's gotten faster. He's really powerful with his first few steps. He's improved upon his stance and starts. Like he's taken all the things that he can work on and get better. And then he is a film rat, right? He's in that meeting room watching film all day. He texts me all the different times of the day, like, hey, what about this? Or I saw this cut up in 3x1. Like he's texting me all the day. Like he's obsessed with football. And that just raises the whole level of the room, right? Because obviously guys are trying to compete and guys want to play. And if they're seeing, your best linebacker do that, right, then that's how they're going to follow suit, right? So you're getting him to pull guys along from that standpoint. Plus, from an on-field standpoint, I don't have anybody that practices harder than him, right? I mean, he goes 100 miles an hour on the field as fast as he can every rep he's out there, and it's really, really important to him. So again, and that's just not on offense or defense or reps. That's on special teams as well, right? Which is again another really, really strong thing to show the younger guys.
Because he's not as vocal maybe as some others, is that where having Luke in the room is a help?
Yeah, I think they balance each other out. I think they balance each other out. And again, some of that too is, you get that you become more of a vocal guy when you are a captain, right? When you're nominated as a captain, you have the platform to speak more. You know what I mean? And that's the nature of any title or position, right? So I think it's not that I did say he wasn't overly vocal, but I don't think it's an absence of the willingness to do that, right? I think it's just, there's different leadership styles, if you will.
What do you expect will be different about the Wake Forest defense in terms of the linebacker unit in 2021 versus the performance in 2020, Greg?
Right. That's a good question. I think you're going to notice that they're going to be playing faster. I think you're going to notice that there's going to be more. I've used this phrase before, but I truly mean it. There's going to be more attacking and less reacting. And I think they're just going to. Overall, I'm looking for the 2021 season to be more productive at the linebacker position.
Anything else for Greg, guys? All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.